scholar of Indian history and politics, and also at the offices of Shashi Tharoor, Member of Parliament, and is now enrolled as a PhD student at King's College, London. He's the poster child of narrative history writing in India, and almost single-handedly made reading history cool and popular. All this before he's 30.
Almost 30.
Almost 30.
For 2 more weeks.
Yeah. Today he's back here in Nagpur at the VLF to discuss his second work, Rebel Sultans. The book brings alive the sordid, funny and glamorous world of medieval Deccan. Populated by a remarkable cast of characters, the book liberates the history of the Deccan from the usual Hindu versus Muslim construct. A review of the book by Hindu says, the Rebel Sultan is the much needed bridge between academia and the wider reading audience. So he doesn't have a prepared statement because he doesn't need it. And let's get on into it. Rebel Sultan is situated in the Deccan. Though most of the Indian history writing is north-centric, written about the Mughals versus the Marathas if they come down south. So why is the history of Rebel Sultans in the Deccan? How did you come upon it?
So, before we came up on stage, Yadaji, by the way, aapki kavita super bahut achhi lagi. Thank you for giving us such a wonderful opening. And in fact, the language thing is also fascinating, Urdu and Dakhni and so on. But the reason I asked for the book to be placed here wasn't necessarily to market it, but to suggest the cover. Now, you say, why the Deccan? Now, if you look at the cover of this book, one of the reasons I chose this cover and fell in love with the cover, other than the very vivid colors and the richness of the blue and so on, is that for me, that picture represents everything about not only the Deccan, but also India itself. The elephant is that iconic Indian symbol of power, Indian symbol of Indianness in many ways. Why is it that all kings had elephants in their armies? Why is it that kings competed to claim that more numbers of elephants in their stables? Because elephants were a mark of prestige. It was a very Indian thing. Now the man sitting in front on the elephant is the Adil Shah of Bijapur, who is descended from a Persian man and a Maratha woman. So you're already seeing a mix of Shia Islam and local Hindu, Maharashtrian, Deccan, original like Hindu culture there, creating something, confluence of ideas, an assimilation of identities, all of that happening in that one character in front. But behind is also a darker man, and that darker man is an African, because even Africans help shape the history of the Deccan. We often don't talk enough about the African contribution to India. Africans have ruled in Uttar Pradesh, Africans have ruled in Bengal, an African lover was supposed to be the reason why Razia Sultan was treacherously betrayed by her own courtiers as an excuse. They really didn't want a woman in power, that was the real fact. They just blamed her African friend for it. Malik Ambar, we'll discuss that eventually.
Awesome Malik Ambar.
Shivaji's grandfather was his right-hand man. So the African presence suggests a whole new angle. The Adil Shah who sits in front of the temple with his Marathi plus Persian heritage in this Indian ecosystem sitting on the elephant for me represented the very essence of the Deccan, which is multiplicity, which is pluralism, which is, yes, there is religious identity also, but it's all of this simultaneously at the same time. It encapsulates in many ways the reality of India, and the reality of India is not one reality, it is multiple realities in many layers. And I think the Deccan was a great, it was great to put the Deccan under a microscope and study that as the focus. Because there is a lot on the Mughals, there is a lot on the Marathas, but between the two we forget that the stage for this was created by the Sultans of the Deccan.
So the marauding Khilji comes down and destroys Kakatiya and their amazing egalitarian society, and that's where we are launched into the book. Can you explain the Kakatiyas, Hoysalas and the Yadavas and how the Bamniya came about?
So the funny thing is, we often think that everything in history is linear, right? So in the late 1200s, there's the king of Yadav, the Yadava king of Devagiri, which is basically Maharashtra. And he has this poem, or it's an inscription, where he talks about how this king is so powerful that at the very sight of him, or at the very rumblings of his army, all the Turks in North India are running away. This inscription was written before the king had seen a single Turk in his life. It was just a way to flaunt how powerful he was. Except when in 1296 Alauddin Khilji first came down to Devagiri, essentially looking not for territory but for gold. Because what was Alauddin Khilji looking for? His uncle was in power in Delhi.
He wanted finance.
Alauddin wanted the throne. Now how do you get the throne? A, of course, you have to kill the uncle, which he does. But killing the uncle by itself will not serve a purpose. You have to win over the nobility. How do you win over the nobility? Not with pious words and promises, but with gold, which meant you needed gold. Now the one area that was not explored was the south, was the Deccan. So here he appears suddenly in the south. Now of course people in the Deccan are fighting among themselves. So the Devagiri Yadavas are fighting with the Hoysalas, they are fighting with the Kakatiyas, they have their own ecosystem. And suddenly there's this new actor who comes to Delhi with these strong cavalry forces. And the poor Devagiri king's army is stuck fighting the Hoysalas. So he locks himself up in the fort, thinking that I'm going to, somehow stand this out and wait for Alauddin Khilji to go away. But very quickly he starts starving because there's not enough food in the fort. Nobody was prepared for a siege. And Alauddin has this very clever device where the story goes that with a few horsemen, he tells them to go at a substantial distance and just run up and down on their horses on a field and raise so much dust that it looks like some massive army is coming down to reinforce him. And then the kings of Devagiri surrender. They become vassals. Well, a minor fight you will call it. And they become vassals of the Sultans of Delhi in the beginning. And then of course they go on to the Hoysalas, they go on to the Kakatiyas. All of these kingdoms one by one start folding in front of the might of Delhi. But it's also a difficult time because Delhi can't control these places. The problem Delhi faces.
They send their generals down and they don't stick around.
The generals decide that this is so far away from Delhi, why should we listen to Delhi? We become kings in our own right. So they send these so-called loyal generals, and the loyal generals very quickly turn around and say, hold on, we're not that loyal to you. We'd rather just do our own thing. Because they don't need the north. They've got access to the sea here, so they can survive as independent kings. That is how the Bahmani Sultanate is born. In a few decades after Alauddin Khilji's time, some of the governors in the Deccan decide, we're not going to listen to Delhi anymore, we're going to establish our own kingdom. And they do that. Almost by lottery, they pick up one man and install him as king. And then, he's put aside and another man comes to the throne. And this man nicely vacates the throne saying, yeah, actually you're more efficient, etc. But having taken the throne, the first of the Bahmani Sultan realizes that the previous guy might potentially become an alternate power center. So he murders him. And then that's how the Bahmani Sultanate is created. And I call it the rebel sultans because the Deccan Sultanate of the Bahmanis was created. The Bahmanis were an empire from both the Bay of Bengal all the way to the Arabian Sea, that entire stretch of the upper peninsula. But what's interesting is that, they were created in rebellion from Delhi. And their downfall was also when their governors rebelled against them and created independent kingdoms, which are the three main ones are the Adil Shahs of Bijapur, the Nizam Shahs of Ahmednagar, and the Qutb Shahs of Golconda.
So, and another kingdom that is just around the corner is Vijayanagara, which has a enduring appeal for all around, even V.S. Naipaul, Lerman's laws. So was that a bulwark against the Islamic aggression? A Hindu bulwark?
See,
which you would say it wasn't.
It's romanticized, right? That is the thing with history. We often pick and choose. The analogy I give is, you've already decided what you need in today's world. For that, you pick up a shopping basket and you go into this store of history, take a few things that justify your ideology and you say this is what the past was. But in reality, Vijayanagara was also complicated. Vijayanagara was this Hindu enterprise to save Hinduism. They didn't try to restore the Hoysalas, they didn't try to restore the Yadavas, they didn't try to restore the Kakatiyas. They also created a new kingdom. Like the Deccan Sultans took advantage of the chaos when these three kingdoms collapsed, it left a power vacuum. And these Deccan Bahmani Sultans took advantage of that vacuum to create their own kingdom. Similarly, the five sons of Sangama, the Sangama brothers, they're the ones who said, hold on, there's so much chaos happening in the southern part of the peninsula, we're going to take advantage of that and create our own kingdom. In fact, Harihara and Boka, the two older brothers, the more important Vijayanagara founders, they were even in service of the Delhi Sultans. They were actually employees of the Delhi Sultanate. There is even a story that they converted to Islam.
Yes.
And it was much later, once Delhi's allegiance was thrown off, they decided to reconvert to Hinduism. And of course, this is India, right? India is wonderful. Whenever you find yourself in an awkward corner, in an awkward situation where you converted to Islam and now you need to come back, what do? You invent a new legend. You invent a way to paper over that awkward corner and jump onto the next level. So in their case, how is Vijayanagara founded? There's this lovely story that one day one of these Sangama brothers was out on his horse and he saw a hare, a rabbit, turn around and biting a hound rather than the other way around. The rabbit was chasing the hound and it bit it. And then he said, oh my God, what is this miraculous scene? Let me establish. And the saint says, you must establish a city here, it will be a great city. That's how Vijayanagara is established as a story. But this legend is not original. There is a legend like this connected to Pune. In Sri Lanka and Kandy, that city was founded with a similar story where there's a hare that goes after a dog and bites the dog and so on. So even the story has moved around a lot. It's, let's say, somebody or the other has plagiarized it from somewhere else. But anyway, that's how Vijayanagara is founded. And Vijayanagara is Hindu in the sense that when the kings of Vijayanagara define their identity, when they are asked to express their self-image, they do that in Sanskrit terms. They do that in Brahminical terms. They do that in high Hindu terms. And
they also call themselves the
Sultans among Hindu kings because they occupy a Persianate world. Now, what do I mean by a Persianate world? We are all sitting here, all the men here are wearing trousers and shirts, right? Does that mean we're less Indian? No, it's just that the current world is shaped by influences that are Western in nature. Our thoughts may be Indian, our identity is Indian, but our costume, we have no issues wearing Western world costumes because that's what dominates. Similarly,
you say
I get that. Similarly, in Vijayanagara, you have the same thing, which is that they occupied a world where Persian was, and the Persianate culture was the dominant force. Previous to that, there was something called the Sanskrit cosmogonies. How did the Ramayana and the Mahabharata reach Southeast Asia? How was the world's biggest complex of temples constructed in Cambodia, in Angkor Wat? Why was this done? Because at one point, Sanskrit was such a commodity. Sanskritic culture did not have boundaries. It traveled overseas and it was absorbed by others because they saw prestige in it. Somewhere, say about 1000 years ago, that position was ceded to Persian. And Persian continued in that position till 1835. If the British, people often say the British had not colonized India, would we be talking in chaste Sanskrit? No. This conversation would be happening in Persian, not in Sanskrit, not in Marathi, not in Hindi. Persian would have been our common language across the Indian subcontinent. So Vijayanagara existed in that Persianate universe, which is why, even though they were Hindu kings and they had a Sanskritic ideology, as far as their kingly vision went, they were also part of an ecosystem where they wanted to be Persianized. So you refer to the clothes, and that's what you see. In the early stage of Vijayanagara, everybody is wearing their munda, or the sarong around the waist, and the torso is left bare. As the centuries pass, as the generations pass, tunics appear. Stitched cloth came to India from the Islamic world. You know, it was funny in Parliament the other day, a very young MP, 28 years old, said that all the protests in Shaheen Bagh, if you support them, the Mughal Raj will return. And it's funny, he said that in a Sherwani in Parliament. Everybody who has any sense of history knows that you're wearing an Islamic costume. You're wearing a costume that was born in a land outside India, and you're actually saying something as ironical as this. So that is the word Vijayanagara. Right? The tunics come. And if you thought women in Vijayanagara walked around wearing saris, they did not. They wore conical hats and caps that were based on designs that came in from Persia. They were Hindus. They were part of an Indian ecosystem. Their court language was mainly Telugu. But they also absorbed cultural influences that came from other places. When Emperor Devaraya meets one of these Persian ambassadors, he already knows about the great trading cities of Iran. He already knows about what the major ports there are. He knows all of that because he's already exposed to that. He's already aware that this is the world in which he functions. The Persian ecosystem extended all the way to Thailand. That is how vast it was. And Vijayanagara was part of it. So Vijayanagara, yes, the kings were Hindus. But it did not mean that their kingdom was some sort of Hindu enterprise against Islam. Because that is simply not how the world worked at the time. The Bahmanis, now look at the Deccan Sultanates. I mentioned that the Adil Shah was sitting in the front of the elephant here. The first of the Adil Shahs got on a boat, came to the Deccan. Somewhere on the way he decided he's going to pretend he's the long lost son of the Ottoman emperor. So you've invented a genealogy for yourself. Which Hindu kings also do, by the way. All kings do it. That's how they get legitimacy. He decided Ottomans. Hindu kings will decide solar rays, Surya Vamsha, Chandra Vamsha, born out of the cow and so on. Everybody does it for legitimacy. He gets here and he marries this Maratha woman. Now, the Maratha woman is the daughter of a man he's defeated, or the sister of a man he's defeated. It's interesting because you would assume that, she was this helpless Hindu woman who was given into the hands of this barbaric Muslim who came from overseas, etc., at the end of a cruel battle. But no, she was no helpless woman. She was a very capable woman. Because 2 generations later, when her grandson came to the throne, this Maratha grandmother realized that he's a useless grandson, he's not a good king. What does she do? She has her grandson blinded, puts him on the side and replaces him with an illegitimate grandson. She's not a helpless woman. This Maratha woman was from the start very much part of that Adil Shahi identity. She was a Maratha Hindu woman, married to the first of the Adil Shahs. So some Adil Shahs preferred their Persian heritage. So they would speak Persian, they would promote Shia Islam, etc. But somebody else like Ibrahim Adil Shah II went back to Sunni Islam, but he spoke Marathi. When the Mughal ambassador came, the Mughal ambassador was frankly aghast that Ibrahim spoke Marathi better than Persian. Because they thought, high culture means you must speak Persian. It's a little bit like, people think to be posh in India, you must have English and you must speak with the right accent and all that. So the Mughal ambassador comes here and then he discovers Ibrahim Marathi bolta hai. And then, they're stunned. And his favorite wives are Maharashtrian. He considers himself very much a son of the soil. And he calls himself son of Saraswati and Ganapati. He's a Sunni Muslim who calls himself son of Saraswati and Ganapati. So much is the confusion about what his actual religious allegiance is. Yeah, Ibrahim II. People are so confused about what his religious identity is that on his grave it is inscribed, no, Ibrahim was not a Jew, no, he was not a Christian, and certainly he was not a Hindu. He was a true Muslim, almost as though after his death you're convincing people, don't believe the stories, he was a Muslim. And the funny thing is, it's not a dialogue he's invented, it's actually picked from the Quran. So either he's just quoting a Quranic verse and using it also for a double purpose of convincing people not to be mischievous, or he's being mischievous. It's a little bit of a joke that he himself is having. The Nizam Shahs of Ahmednagar, they are descended from Brahmin who converts to Islam. They start marrying women not only who are Maratha women and local Hindu women, but also Persian women and African women. Two of the queens of the Nizam Shahi kingdom were black. They were black begums. I always think of it this way. 17th century India, say 20 years before Shivaji is born, who would have thought there was a black queen in Ahmednagar? It's not something we are talking about in Maharashtra, but she was there. She was very much a black princess at the time. A king who ruled in 1595, briefly for 1 year. His mother was also African. And the Nizam Shahs, descended from Brahmins, they became very, very staunch Shias. So except for the first Nizam Shah, who was that converted Brahmin's son or grandson, all the other Nizam Shahs would send their bodies to be buried in Karbala, which is now in Iraq, one of the most sacred sites of the Shias. Isn't it ironic? Doesn't it tell you about how interconnected the world was even then? That these descendants of Brahmins from Maharashtra are being buried in Persia, in Iraq, because that's also how the world was connected at the time. The Qutub Shahs of Golconda, they come from a royal lineage in Iraq, came to the Delhi, became warriors of the Bahmanis. When the Bahmani kingdom started collapsing, created their own kingdom. They were very big fans of the Telugu language. One of their kings, Teluguized his name from Ibrahim to Malik Ibrahim, Abhirama. They patronize Kshetraya, the famous composer of Padams in Telugu. He came and composed 1,500 devotional poems for the Qutub Shah of Golconda. Telugu was their official court language. When the Marathas later conquered Tanjavur, why did the Marathas preserve Telugu? Because the previous Vijayanagar emperors, the Nayakas of the period that followed Vijayanagar, the Qutub Shahs of Golconda, they were all great lovers of Telugu. They had imbued Telugu with so much prestige that even the Marathas who came decided, Acha, we'll keep Marathi at home. In court we will speak Telugu.
Court language would be Telugu.
So, there is religion. Kings have religious identity. But then, as today, religion is only used when you have a political end in mind. Forget the Hindu kings. Look at even Muslim kings. The famous, people, there's a slur that ultra-right people use for Muslims where they say Babar ki aulad. It's considered a bad thing. What is Babar's story? Babar comes out of Central Asia. He's pushed out of his ancestral kingdom. He's wandering in Afghanistan for a long time. At one time, he's pushed to the corner in such a difficult way that he needs help from the Shah of Iran to survive. What does he do? This Sunni Muslim, who thinks Shias are heretics, converts to Shiaism for a while. He starts wearing that well-pointed cap. He declares Shiism the official religion of his little territory and all of that. Gets help from the Shah of Iran. After some time, once his political agenda is met, he goes back to being a Sunni. Then he's like, oh no, Shias are heretics. He's also capable of doing this. Babar comes to India, conquers all these kingdoms. There is no jihadi language in that. The only time he does a little bit of vandalism against Hinduism or like Indian or Indic culture is when he's conquered Gwalior and he's going around some caves there and he looks at these Jain statues and the Jain Tirthankars are all naked. He says, oh my god, how is this allowed? Let us chop off certain parts of the sculpture and then make it chaste. That's what he does. But there's no jihad this thing. He starts talking to local people, they start becoming part of his court and his retinue, etc. The jihadi element comes at one point, which is when he has to face Rana Sanga. Now what's happened is, by the time he faces Rana Sanga, several occasions have passed where his troops have been defeated by Rana Sanga. His favorite and most efficient generals and governors, they've all come to India, they're like, we hate the weather, we hate the food, we're going back to Afghanistan. So they've abandoned him and gone back to Afghanistan. He's losing battles, he's lost his best generals, his astrologers told him you're going to lose to Rana Sanga, and he's completely demoralized. His troops are demoralized. At that time, this Babur, who had wild drinking parties in Afghanistan, says, I'm going to become a great Muslim, I'm going to smash all the bottles of alcohol, smash all the goblets and declare jihad. And he does it. He's called Pasha Ghazi after that, because he's declared jihad. And he says, if I win against Rana Sanga, I will never touch alcohol again. That is the one time he uses jihad, when he's really desperate. That's all. When do we all remember God? When we're desperate. That's really frankly how the world works. And Babur does it, defeats Rana Sanga. The astrologer who predicted he was going to lose gets punished in an appropriate fashion. And Babur, for the remaining 3 odd years that he survives, regrets the fact that he's given up alcohol. His diaries are full of expressions of regret that he made that vow when he gave up alcohol. Because he suffers because of that loss. It's the same. You find that, with all, even this is the same pattern that you see. At certain moments, you will use religion to justify and legitimize a very political idea.
So the political expediency continues.
And it happens even in our time. Even now it happens. Religion comes up in every election we have in this country. And then after the election, somehow it almost sort of goes back again into the background. Because politicians then and now are essentially politicians. They act in the same way.
So another very interesting character in your book is the courageous warrior queen Janvi. In your book, you quote, one of the greatest women that India has produced. We don't know anything.
Yeah. Janvi, of course, colourful story. She's the daughter of the Nizam Shah of Nagar. She gets married, so she's also got Persian blood, Maratha blood, and she's a Shia. At the time Vijayanagar is being defeated, that's when, so the Vijayanagar emperors are playing these sultans against each other. So one day they'll support one sultan against the other one. The next day they'll do this to the other one against this one. And then finally one day the sultans wake up and they're like, hold on, we just need to group up and gang up against Vijayanagar and destroy that. So as part of that ganging up, they basically had several marital alliances. So Chand Bibi went off to the Adil Shah's court. Some of the Adil Shah's family went off to the Qutub Shah's court. So they sealed the alliance through marriage. And the marriage happens very dramatically on the eve of the battle. It's under the enemy's fort that the wedding ceremony is celebrated to make a statement. With cannons firing all through the sky and so on. That's how Chand Bibi is married. She marries a very fascinating man called Ali. Now Ali was, before the battle, Ali was the adopted son of the Vijayanagar emperor. So look at it again.
Shia adopted son of the
Shia Muslim has been adopted by the de facto emperor of Vijayanagar as his son, as a status thing. We are so close that you're almost like my son. And the emperor's wife sort of adopts him as her son, etc. So there's all that happening. And they all, of course, have a falling out. The battle happens. But Ali is also famous as the man who wrote this magnificent text called the Nujum al-Ulum. The Nujum al-Ulum, most of it is lost now. It's supposed to have 56 chapters. Only 10 survive now. 10 chapters survive. It has anything and everything on types of halwa, how to classify human beings on the basis of how they sit, on horses, on something called Varshik astrology. It has the most magnificent colored illustrations of tantric Hindu deities. Chalandhari, Ali. This is the man who's written this. And the Nujum is a remarkable. So it mixes up a lot of Indic ideas with Islamic ideas. So Mars, in Islamic text, Mars is a warrior, and he's depicted as a warrior. Here, Mars is depicted as a Hindu deity with 6 arms or 4 arms and things like that. Because they're taking an Islamic concept but giving it an Indian visualization. They took look at Venus. Venus is Zura. But here also it's Zura. But Zura is again an Indian woman, and she's called daughter of who? Bhargava, which is Brigu, from the Indian tradition. So you're mixing the Arabic Zura with the Indian Shukra. There's all of that happening. So he's also a very interesting man. He's finally, of course, the story goes that he was lusting after 2 eunuchs and the eunuchs murdered him for that. So poor Chand Bibi becomes a widow fairly early. She doesn't have children. And she tries for the next few years to stay in charge. So she's briefly imprisoned. Her nephew comes to power. And once the nephew comes to power, she realizes she doesn't have much to do here in the Adil Shahi court. So she returns to her father's court in Ahmedabad, the Nizam Shahi court. The Nizam Shahi court is basically imploding. The Nizam Shahs are the first ones to invite the Mughals into the Deccan because there was a succession dispute. One of the Nizam Shahs goes off to Agra and then basically lives there as a guest of the Mughals. So once he comes back and becomes king, the Mughals have a claim, as it were, to this kingdom. So naturally the first Mughal invasions begin by 1595 or so. The Mughal armies have started to come. The Nizam Shahi court is all fighting. The Africans are fighting with the Marathas, they are fighting with the Persians, everybody's fighting with each other. There are 4 or 5 claimants to the throne, from a baby to an old man to the son of the African Begum. There's complete chaos. And this time it is Chand Bibi who rises to the occasion and she says, look, we really have to get together if they want to defeat the Mughals. There's a wonderful story about how the Mughals in one of these engagements, they managed to break down, they create a breach in the fort.
By using mines or...
Yeah, by setting up these mines. And Chand Bibi herself goes into the breach and she leads the defense while the breach is repaired by her people. Another time, they apparently ran out of ordinary cannonballs, so she had gold melted down and turned into these cannonballs and shot at the Mughals. Partly also to make a statement. She's like, here, I'm throwing gold in your face. It is the Mughals who start referring to her not as, people often say Chand Bibi Sultana, but no, Sultan. They call her Chand Sultan because she's treated with a masculine honor because she's considered so capable and so powerful. And as is familiar to, I suppose, many historical figures, she's finally let down not by the enemy. She's not finally let down by an outsider. It is the men around her who cannot stand this powerful, capable woman. They march into her harem. There's a conspiracy, a group of them. They say, oh my God, she's beginning negotiations with the Mughals because she was forced to. The battle they were starting to win, so she had no option. So these men walk into her private harem, they sort of chop her down, and that's how Chand Bibi is killed. But, it's a remarkable arc, this lady, with her Brahmin blood and Persian blood and her warrior skills, and there's no Parda. None of these Nizam Shahi princesses lived in Parda. Chand Bibi's mother, Khunza Humayun, was a great ruler. She ruled for about 6-7 years. And there are these miniature paintings which depicted her. And later her son got so insecure about his mother's fame and ability that he painted over the mother. So you have miniature paintings where there's the king, and next to the king there's a blob of paint, because that used to be the king's wife, which the son got expunged because he didn't want his mother remembered in history. There's poetry that is very sensuous about this. So in Hindu tradition there's often a lot of sensuous poetry. It's somewhat rarer to see that in an Islamic court, where for instance in one of these poems her breasts are compared to pomegranates. Now this is a very erotic sort of thing, but it was done about her. And her own husband patronized such poetry, which meant they were an interesting couple. So these people, they're not the caricatures or those boring, monochromatic people we expect our historical figures to be. They're human beings of flesh and blood. They're human beings of desire and weakness and prejudice and all of that. And you see that with Chand Bibi, you see that with her mother, you see that with all the ambition and personality they demonstrated.
Another very interesting character in your book is Malik Ambar, the sworn enemy of Mughal Emperor Jahangir. Can you tell us the story of African slaves in Maharashtra?
So Ambar begins his life as an Ethiopian boy called Chapu.
Which is the tribe? What is it?
Yeah, it's a speculation. People can't say it with great certainty, but it seems he was part of the tribe, the Oromos. And so Chapu is kidnapped around the age of 10 or 12. He's sold as a slave. He's taken off to Baghdad, where he converts to Islam and becomes Ambar. And from there, he's sold again. He's put on a ship, taken to the Konkan coast, where he's purchased by the Peshwa of the Nizam Shah of Ahmednagar. Now, the Peshwa himself is a black man. The Peshwa himself was once a slave who came to India, rose to become Prime Minister to the Nizam Shah, and became a very powerful man. He owned 1,000 slaves like Chapu. Now Chapu as Ambar becomes a soldier, becomes a warrior. Eventually when the Peshwa dies, he's given his freedom, and he becomes a freelancing warlord. So he's got about 300, 400 odd soldiers with him for the longest time. He goes to the Adil Shahi court. That's where he gets the title Malik. He becomes Malik Ambar. When does he become prominent? During the Chand Bibi phase. Because after Chand Bibi is dead, and the Mughals have come into this Ahmednagar thing, the Ahmednagar royal family splits. There are princes all over the country scattered running in different directions. And this man uses the chaos of the time to build up his own power. So from 350 odd men it becomes 3,000, it becomes 7,000. By the end of his life it's 50,000 people. And who are these people? Shivaji's grandfather Maluji. It's the Marathas. It's the Marathas and his Africans that are Malik Ambar's backbone, basically. He's the one who starts harassing the Mughals with what is called Bagigiri, guerrilla warfare, which Shivaji will perfect to another level 2 generations later. But Shivaji's family was involved in Malik Ambar's phase when they fought the Mughals in this fashion. He gets his daughter, this black slave gets his black daughter married to a Nizam Shahi prince and installs that prince as the titular king. And he starts fighting battles in the name of the Nizam Shah. And Malik Akbar for about 25 years becomes like a wall between Mughal ambitions and the conquest of the Deccan. The Adil Shahs, the Qutub Shahs, they're all paying Malik Akbar money to keep the Mughals away. And he manages. Occasionally he's betrayed, etc. He has defeats. But the Mughals never managed to defeat this dark man from Africa who came to India as a slave and became king in everything but name. The city of Aurangabad was established by Malik Akbar, Kirki, as it was originally called. The different suburbs of that city were named after his Maratha generals as a tribute to the Marathas who supported him. And Jahangir, of course, was so furious with Malik Akbar, who he called the black-faced, the unfortunate one, that ghastly man. These are the words Jahangir's diary has for Malik Akbar. And Malik Akbar dies in his 80s, very secure in his fortress, very powerful and all that. And what does Jahangir do? He commissions a painting in which Malik Akbar's head is displayed on a spear, impaled and cut off and put up on a spear. And Jahangir is very, dramatically taking aim with a bow and arrow at Malik Akbar's head. He never achieved it. It was fake news. Jahangir is fantasizing in art what he could never achieve on the ground in real life. But after Malik Akbar's time, of course, his son is incapable. Someone else tries to fill that gap. Someone else tries to resist the Mughals like Malik Akbar did, and that man's name is Shahaji Bhosle. Shahaji Raje Bhosle, Shivaji's father. So the Mughals, finally when they defeat Shahaji, they finally say, you can't stay in this part of the Deccan, you have to go to Karnataka. So he becomes an Adil Shahi courtier, and that's around the time Shivaji and his mother stay back here, and he goes off to Bangalore and the south, etc. And the Marathas reach Tanjavur. Shivaji's half-siblings established the Tanjavur branch of the Maratha royal family, and Shivaji and his mother stay here. So the book is called The Deccan from Khilji to Shivaji. Shivaji appears at the end of the book, because there are better books on Shivaji than I can ever write. Greater scholars have done books on Shivaji. But what led to Shivaji? What were the previous 4-5 centuries that created the stage that the Marathas would dominate? That is what I was interested in.
You write in the book, it was the nursery, Malik Akbar was the nursery in which the Maratha empire was born.
Because of this, and it's not like I'm saying it, Shivaji said it. Now Shivaji, once in the 1670s, when he crowns himself king of the Marathas, becomes Chhatrapati Shivaji. Till then he's a warlord, he's a warrior, but he's not a king yet. So he has a great ceremony in 1674. That's when he becomes Chhatrapati officially. After that he's royal, he's become a king. Now at that point Shivaji also commissions a Sanskrit poem called the Shiva Bharata. And it is in the Shiva Bharata that Shivaji himself, through his court poet, pays tribute to Malik Akbar. Malik Akbar is as brave as the sun. That's a quote in the Shiva Bharata. He's compared to the god Kartikeya. Like Kartikeya battled the Asuras surrounded by other gods. So Malik Akbar battled the Mughals surrounded by the Marathas, including Shivaji's father. So there's great prestige, there's great respect for Malik Akbar and Shivaji's own court poem that he himself promoted in the 1670s. Shivaji also acknowledged that Malik Akbar was a man who was integral to the pride and the defense of the Deccan.
Another interesting quote in your book was, Shivaji went to the court of Aurangzeb in Agra, and you quote, one principal opportunity of the Mughals to co-opt the Marathas into the world was lost, and with that was the Mughal Empire.
Yeah, that's one of those things, right? So the Mughals initially fought the Rajputs. How did the Rajputs and Mughals become allies? Intermarriage. They were given very senior positions in the Mughal court. So you will have small desert kingdoms. These desert kingdoms were not very rich. How did the Rajput kingdoms become rich? Because the Mughals would then assign them other territories in Madhya Pradesh, in other parts in the Deccan. And from these campaigns they would generate wealth and they would enrich Rajputana. So a lot of Rajput prestige rose in alliance with the Mughals. And the Mughals respected the Rajputs. That was Akbar's wise policy. He realized that why should I make enemies when I can use diplomacy to actually, make them my allies. The idea was that they could do the same with the Marathas. Now there are two things to this. One is that we know the story that Shivaji comes there. He's not given his due position in the Darbar.
That's what he expected because
and he therefore walks out in a fury and then he's put under house arrest. There are two angles to this. The first is it wasn't merely that it was an inferior position. It was that specifically there was a Rajput general of the Mughals he had defeated, and that man was standing in front of him. He said, "This man whose back I've seen on the battlefield, how can he be put in front of me?" It was that. And the other thing was the Rajputs used to sneer at the Marathas. The Rajputs are part of this Persian court culture. They have their, high-fine, refined culture.
They look at the Marathas as upstarts from the south. They are not interested in the Marathas. They don't see the Marathas as equals. If you think the Hindus were all a united front, they were not. The Rajputs used to look down on the Marathas till the 18th century. Even the 18th century, you have Rajput correspondents bitching about the Marathas, these upstarts from the south, they're not as cultured as us. That is the kind of language the Rajputs had. So, on the one hand, the Rajputs, one group of Rajputs is not happy that Jai Singh has brought Shivaji here. Another faction is Aurangzeb's sister. Janara owned the port of Surat, and Shivaji had sacked the port of Surat. So she's a little upset that Shivaji has gone there multiple times and taken away her treasure and her money, and now he's being received in court by her brother as a part of the Mughal Empire. She's trying to, persuade the emperor to get rid of him. Shivaji had cut off Aurangzeb's uncle's hands. That man's sister's in the court. She's also putting pressure on Aurangzeb, saying, put this man in his place. And of course, Shivaji has his daring escape from Agra. Which is why, and that's the thing, why does Shivaji's coronation happen after that? Because till the late 1660s, when the Darbar incident happens, there is every chance that they will come to a diplomatic solution. The Mughals will recognize that the Marathas are their agents in the Deccan, and the Marathas will therefore rule accordingly. But this is a break. There is no possibility now of a diplomatic solution. And that's when Shivaji realizes, now I'm going to establish a kingdom. Which is why Jadunath Sarkar, when he did his book on the Marathas, he got into some trouble in saying that initially Shivaji did not set out to set up a Hindavi Swaraj. That was not his agenda. He set out like other warlords of the time. Everybody, it was an open space, there was competition, and he survived. He becomes a king because he realizes, I don't want to be part of the Mughal enterprise anymore. That's when he says, I need the legitimacy, I need the thing, I'm going to become an anointed king. And that has value. Because the moment he's an anointed king, when he meets the Qutub Shah of Golconda, earlier, as a nobleman's son, he'd have to bow to the Qutub Shah. When he's taken to the Adil Shahi court as a little boy, he has to bow. But once he's become Chhatrapati, the Qutub Shah himself embraces Shivaji and makes him sit next to him, because now you're an equal. You're no longer an inferior, because Shivaji's gone through the Sanskritic rituals. Even the Qutub Shah recognizes those Sanskritic rituals. The Qutub Shah is not saying you don't have to be a sultan or anything. He understands that having gone through the Sanskritic ritual, you are now a king. You are my equal. And Shivaji writes this in a letter. He's happy that the Qutub Shah has acknowledged him. It's a little bit like, when new states are born, they want the UN to acknowledge them. It's a little bit like that. Shivaji had become king, he had established a Swaraj, and now other states in the Deccan acknowledge that. So he was reinforced in his identity. So there are so many layers.
Absolutely fascinating. Okay, we can open this discussion to audience questions now. And the questions cannot be statements, they have to be questions.
From history and of course from present too, that is the term jihad, you also used it. The declaring of the jihad, you used that term, which when we go in depth, we came to know that it's the fifth stage of jihad, which is called a qital. So what do you think?
Can you give me a question?
Just I'm going to tell. What do you think that this term was interpreted in history and is being interpreted in present too?
Interpret the same thing in different degrees based on convenience. So, another example, Aurangzeb declares jihad against the Qutub Shah of Golconda. That's how Golconda is finally reduced to ashes. What is his reason? He says Golconda king is a Shia, Shias are heretics, and therefore this is jihad. Now, Aurangzeb has conveniently forgotten, actually not, he knows, but he's pretending he's forgotten, that half his army behind him, the generals are all Shia. Aurangzeb has conveniently forgotten his mother is a Shia. One of his wives is Shia. He actually has no issues with Shia faith as such. He personally is a very strong Sunni, but he uses that jihad terminology because at that time he needs to use it here for a very political purpose. It is always interpretation. Till earlier, as a young man, when he came to Golconda, he didn't use that terminology at all because he was happy to negotiate with the Qutub Shahs at that time. It is when he finally wants to destroy them that he will try and find the most potent vocabulary, option in the vocabulary that is available to justify it. And you see that with Hindu kings also. You will find that when they need to, go out and do something, they will declare themselves as doing it in the name of God, or they are suddenly the perfect paragons of the Surya Vamsha and things like that. Because that is the time when they need to project some sort of religious ideal. Otherwise, you dilute your interpretation based on convenience. I think it did. In fact, I'm a Muslim, you find debates. There's a Hindu-Turk Samvad that he famously, there are translations available of that. And it's fascinating. You see them actually debating and lampooning each other and laughing at each other's traditions. But they part as friends. They sort of embrace and say, look, you
to each their own, that kind of a thing. And there was this movement, so when Afzal Shah comes to destroy Shivaji and to murder him really, on the way he decides to go and attack Pandharpur. And that becomes a major issue because the very Marathas and Afzal Khan's army are suddenly very upset with this. There are allies of the Arvind Shahi court which are not happy that he went and did this. He was trying to send a message to Shivaji because Shivaji's family used to go there and Shivaji was very connected to that temple, etc. And the temple's folk traditions and so on. So I think there was definitely a role the Bhakti tradition played. And the Bhakti movements, that the strongest phase is around this time. It emerges in the Sultanate period that a lot of this churn and religious debate is happening within the Hindu tradition against Brahmanism, against caste, about getting more people into actual devotionalism and so on.
So my question.
I can hear you, so you can just talk.
So my question is now what we read is history. Is it more is it more Islamized than what we read now?
No, so often simplistic version of history, which is not an Indian habit. It happens everywhere. You go to British schools, till the British kids reach college level, they're all taught how the empire was this wonderful thing that brought railways to the world, democracy to the world, liberal values to the world. They're not taught about the people being blown out of cannons and slaughters and weavers losing their thumbs and things like that. They literally don't learn a word of that. They are taught that this is this wonderful thing. Because every country has a grand narrative. Every nation needs a grand narrative to cement the idea of the nation. So we have ours, and in fact we have competing versions of it. And our textbooks, depending on which party is in power, the textbook gets rewritten accordingly based on what grand narrative they want. That happens everywhere. If you really want to understand history in a sober fashion, history is not going to confirm or completely deny something we've caught up in our mind. All history is going to do is completely confuse us because it is not what we expect it to be. That is the genius of history. It challenges every preconceived notion we have. Whether it is sexuality, whether it is politics, whether it is religion, everything is challenged by history. There is no linear narrative and there is no grand narrative.
Also, I wanted idols. When did this mass defacement happen?
So, he's destroying a lot of temples there. Lots of people are being forced to convert to Islam. It's a very violent, gruesome phase at that time in Malabar. There are two aspects to this. One, he's conquering. In his settled territories, he himself is giving grants to temples. But because he's conquering a new territory, he's also using the language of jihad. He needs to do this. But even within Malabar, he's not destroying everything. For instance, there's this in a place called Irnalakuda, where his army passed. There's a very prominent Brahmin family descended from Sangamagrama Madhava, who is this medieval mathematician. So, very important family, landed family, very prominent there. And they were expected to bend the knee to Tipu Sultan. They did not. Instead, they took their treasure and they ran away. So what does Tipu do? Even now, if you go to their family temple, it's a small shrine, a single structure, very old structure. There are two stone Dwarapalakas. The arms are missing because Tipu's soldiers cut it off. However, recently I met Jaya Jetli, whose grandfather was the last Raja of Kollangot, which is near Palakkad, also in North Kerala. She was telling me that in her family, the pedestal on which the deity is installed was donated by Tipu Sultan because the Kollangot Raja bent the knee to Tipu Sultan. So the defacement happens when a sultan has some political agenda that he wants. And remember, the Vijayanagar emperors also took idols from other temples. So when Krishnadeva conquers parts of Orissa, the Udayagiri temple for example, he lifts the idol from there and brings it back. He will not destroy the temple because he also recognizes that it's a deity that he respects. So he's not going to destroy the temple and smash it, but he's going to take the deity and bring it to his court and install it in Hampi. He does that to Pandharpur. The deity of Pandharpur was taken to Hampi and installed in Hampi for a while. Then Maharashtrian Brahmin, I forget the name, had to go to the Vijayanagar court, and the Vijayanagar emperor allows them to bring back the idol and reinstall it in Pandharpur. Because even Hindu kings did take idols. For them it was a prestige thing. For the Muslim king you have to destroy it because infidels and all of that. For the Hindu king you have to take other people's idols to bring up your own glory. So if someone else says, I am a great king because this is my great deity and I'm such a wonderful devotee of this deity, the enemy king is going to be like, you just wait, I'm coming and taking your deity and bringing it to my temple. That is the thing with Hindu kings. Whereas an Islamic king, since he has to prove himself by infidels and this and that, he will do the opposite. But there are phases, and I don't think we should deny that, because denying it in the attempt, fear is what often people fear, that talking or acknowledging that there were violent phases in Indian history will be used to stigmatize people today, to stigmatize, say, ordinary Muslims today, which we should not do.
because everything happened in its own context, in its time. But equally, by not acknowledging it, we're also opening, historians are opening themselves up to criticism. You should not hide anything. What is there is there. We should have the majority to realize that what happened 800 years ago, we don't need to sit and fight battles for it in 2020. That is our insecurity rather than.
Answer could be how much of research goes into something like this? And how many hours or how many years, weeks, I don't know.
So when all my colleagues and friends were partying away in their early 20s, I was sitting in libraries and archives with people 3 times my age, and it was very rewarding in the long term. At the time it was frustrating, but in hindsight it was a very good thing. This book took me I think 2 years because but I grew up in Pune, so the stories were around me. It's just that deciding and actually writing the book took about 2 years. My third book is a collection of essays I wrote over 3 years. Now increasingly, even with my PhD, even otherwise with my work, because I'm always reading. Reading is my job, it's my actual employment. I'm constantly therefore collecting material. So, it's a mixed process. But when I was last year also, in fact, it was very odd. I also mentioned that, history is no longer about what the record says. The record is only one piece of the puzzle. You have to look at architecture, you have to look at art, you have to look at literature, you have to look at poetry. Now, for example, the Nayaka kings in Tamil Nadu, in the post-Vijayanagar period, many of them were great composers of Telugu poetry. Sensuous is about the king's valor and how many women he can seduce and things like that. Because through their fiction, they are creating an image of what an ideal king should be. It's not a record, but that fiction, that poem or that narrative is telling you how the king thinks he's being perceived or he should be perceived. His ideology is very clear in the work of fiction. And at my last event also I mentioned this particular play, but I'm going to repeat the story. Sorry for people who were there at that time. But it's about Shivaji's nephew Shahu, who writes that wonderful Telugu play called Satidana Suramu, which is a play called Take My Wife. And that, it has this Brahmin called Morobatu the Magnificent. He's on his way to a temple festival with his disciple, his chela. On the way they see a very beautiful woman in the distance and Morobatu says, hold on, I want to go flirt with the lady. Now the disciple, and this was written in the early 18th century. The disciple says, no, you can't, you're a great Shastri, you're a great Pandit, think of the subtle meanings of Vedic words. He says, no, I don't want insipid eternal bliss, I want the bliss that comes with spending a night with this lady. So then they go to the lady. Lady turns around and she says, no, sorry, I'm married. He says, no, that's fine, give me your loins like you give land to Abraham. Then she says, I'm lower caste. Because she's a Dalit woman, she's an untouchable. So he says, no, this was all created by Brahmins to hoodwink people, so you don't bother about that. Finally, she says, look, we drink liquor, we eat beef, so we're not pure enough for you. So he says, we drink cow's milk and we worship the cow. You eat the whole cow, you must be purer than me. So for people who, sort of monochromatically turn Shivaji into this protector of cows and Brahmins, they don't realize his own nephew in Tanjavur wrote this in the next generation, only a few decades after Shivaji's death. And that's the thing. So in Shahu of Tanjavur's records, in his edicts, in his official papers, you're never going to find this kind of material. But this play that he's written is an insight into his mind. It's an insight into the mind that no record will give you. That literature, that piece of fiction, a play, tells you so much more about the man's character, so much more about his wit, his humor, his confidence. That is historical value. So historians, when we do our research now, we look at everything. It isn't merely what is written down in the archives. We can go outside the archives and look for our answers.
Thank you for patience.